Hello and welcome to A Love Letter for the Arts, a conversation about the world we love. Film, television, theatre, music, books, dance. Over the coming weeks, I'll be bringing people together on a Saturday afternoon who are a big part of that world, sharing their stories of the work they create and why they love to tell their stories, because it is storytelling that is at the heart of what we call the arts. This is a chance to hang out. It's also shaped by you, so please join in, adding your comments below and throughout our time together. This afternoon, I'll give you a mention, or maybe you'll see your comment displayed on the screen. So let me introduce the first of our contributors today. Sue Vincent is an actress and writer who is one of the leading comedy performers on British television, recently appearing as Peggy Piper in Mrs. Brown's Boys, Miss Splinter on the children's TV show The Worst Witch, along with Mount Pleasant, Bad Move, Alma's Not Normal, Bad Education, Shameless, and starred alongside David Hasselhoff in Hoff the Record. Mark Stay is a screenwriter and fantasy writer. First film was Robot Overlords, Gillian Anderson, Ben Kingsley in it. He's just had his second film confirmed, The Little People, as reported by The Hollywood Reporter just a few weeks ago. He's worked in the publishing industry for over 25 years, and his books include Back to Reality, Robot Overlords, and recently The End of Magic. And to complete today's lineup, John Martin. He was the successful artistic director of Trinity Theatre in Tunbridge Wells until stepping down in February last year, deciding to form his own production outfit, John Martin Productions, with immersive theatre at the core of the performances. He's also a theatre correspondent featuring on my BBC radio show, which is why he said he had to come on. So we welcome Stu, Mark and John to A Love Letter for the Arts. Hello.
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 Afternoon.
So good to see you guys. Thank you so much for being with us. First of all, I just really appreciate you joining in this conversation, because it is really tough times for people in the arts at the moment. And I just thought it'd be a great way for us to share together some of those thoughts. So thank you, first of all, for that.
Pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
As always.
Let's start off finding out a bit about you guys. And I'm going to start actually with you, John, as part of the theatre world. We've heard lots, haven't we, about theatre, and particularly inside performances going to start up again, which we'll hear a bit about. But maybe, John, you could just give us a sense about you and the career you've had.
Well, when I first discovered theatre many, many years ago, when I was a spotty 18-year-old working for Commercial Union in insurance. And they sent us A-level trainees up to London and put us in a hotel. And most of my fellow colleagues spent their overnight allowance in the bar, but I went to the theatre every night. And I ended up seeing, even then, stuff I knew that wasn't the best in the world. Saw The Mousetrap, but I also saw Billy with Michael Crawford. I saw the original company of A Little Night Music, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So I saw loads of stuff, and that's how the fire was lit, and no one's put it out since.
That's a key bit. And Mark, I mean, you and I have talked for many years on my radio shows, and just as a writer, where did that writing begin?
Writing, I'm not sure. I mean, I remember, I can't remember when the arts weren't a part of my life. I probably the first thing, I mean, super geeky t-shirt and drinking vessel here. Give you a clue. I went to see Star Wars when I was 5. I remember seeing that Star Destroyer going over and thinking, whatever that is, how do I get to be part of that? And I remember I have this memory of picking up a copy of Reader's Digest. I was visiting my aunt, and for the first time I realized there was this whole article on Star Wars and how it was made. And I realized there were people who gathered and made these things. They didn't just appear magically on the screen. And I was writing stories at that point. I was drawing. I was always quite creative and stuff like that. So I started writing stories very, very early on, and putting stuff together. But it was at school. It was teachers encouraging me, friends encouraging me. I remember writing a science fiction story that included a lot of my friends and bumping them off and taking great pleasure in that. And writing sketches. That was it. When I was in the 6th form, a bunch of us used to write comedy sketches together, and I've never laughed so much in my life before or since. It was one of the great experiences. And for writing seriously, that I wanted to act, But when I sort of reached my mid-30s and I realised that I wasn't going to be Harrison Ford, I decided to focus more on the writing, which I've been doing ever since. So it's always been there. It's always been there.
I'm going to talk about how for over 25 years you've worked in the publishing industry, and boy, that's going through some pretty tough times right now as well. So we'll hear about that. And then, of course, Sue. Sue, really good to have you on with us. And you and I have become such great friends over the time that we've been doing radio together. But one thing I know about you is that you're so passionate about what you do. Did you always want to act?
I wanted to be in Pan's People. Right. And I had a pair of wellies and a swimming costume that I used to dance around the lounge in. And so my mum took me to tap dancing lessons. And within, I think it must have been about a month, they said, she's got to go, she's got no rhythm. And I remember being gutted. I had red leather tap shoes and I was like, what do you mean I've got no rhythm? And my mum says, well, what do you want to do? And literally out of my mouth, I went, I want to be on the stage. So she found speech and drama lessons. I went there and it's never felt like an effort. It's never felt like work. It's just always felt amazing and right where how blessed I am that I've always felt that. Just to come back to the rhythm thing, I did go on to win Saturday Night Fever dancing competitions later on in my life when I was 9.
Well, that's lovely though, isn't it? But it is about that sparking, isn't it, of an interest. And I think I don't know, guys, what you all think, but I think for all of us it was a spark that started it off. I know for me, I was in a maths class at school, and I was not very good at maths. I just didn't get it, although bizarrely I have to use that now for the living I do to make sure I get into the news on time. But I just didn't do it. And there was a maths teacher who said to me, do you know, I love the way you write about maths. Have you ever thought about writing? And luckily for me, her husband worked in publishing, so I ended up writing for a young people's newspaper, and the rest, as they say, is history of what I do now. And it is sometimes someone noticing you, don't you think, and actually wanting to give a little bit extra. Sue,
I think a lot of the time it's teachers as well, isn't that? I distinctly remember Mr. Spencer. I swapped secondary school about a year and a half. My family moved it in, and I got to this new secondary school, and they had a theatre, and the school I was at before didn't. And so I joined the theatre's drama, and he said to me afterwards, he went, I couldn't believe what had walked in the class, because I could just, without being, it was just natural. So I could just do it. So I had no fear. So if he said, okay, let's get up and improvise, I was on my feet like that. Whereas sort of like, other 14-year-olds would be held back. I was sort of like, what speech do you want, darling? I was there,
Yeah.
And you could see him, and him as a teacher, he did cast me as Falstaff. That was quite a formative time, but beard and everything, honestly.
I bet you did it so well, though.
Oh, it was bloody marvellous, can I swear?
Mark, I saw you nodding away at the teacher reference.
Yeah, I had lots of great teachers. There was a teacher called Mrs. Godfrey at Duncombe School in North London who really, really encouraged me, which was, this was Islington. So very, very right on, late 70s, kind of stuff. And they were really strong on the arts. I had for balance, I did have a teacher, I had it in a story that was about attack helicopters rescuing someone from a prison, and it was all explosions. And she said to me, why do you keep writing this American rubbish? Which, I thought, which could have put me off. But actually, that led to a conversation where we talked about character and structure and all the kind of, those building blocks of writing, which I'd never really considered. Before that, writing was just a series of things that happen. She pointed me towards books that, weren't just the usual kind of Star Trek, Star Wars tie-in kind of thing, and that really broadened my horizons. So it was good to be challenged by teachers as well as encouraged.
What I'm really interested though is that as a fantasy writer, did you and he told me to do this, so I've got to do it.
I didn't tell him to do that. Available in all good bookstores now.
As a fantasy writer, did you at the beginning, when you were younger, because you're using your imagination, did you ever get any kind of criticism from the teachers to stop looking out the window? Was your imagination that way?
I was a daydreamer, a big daydreamer. I was always thinking about stuff rather than doing it. And actually, that's kind of changed because I'm actually very good with deadlines now, and I have a good writing habit. And I would be late with homework and stuff like that. But I think they could tell I enjoyed it, and they could tell I had a knack for it. So I was always encouraged. Like I said, I quite encouraging teachers. I was always very lucky like that. Whereas I think there's a generation before me where it was seen as a thing to do, but get a proper job, have something to fall back on. The interesting thing is my son's he's done a BTEC in theatre studies, and there's a whole module in that about the arts as a business, which is brilliant. So he knows about all the stuff I had to learn the hard way by losing a lot of money. He knows about fundraising and that kind of thing, and marketing and advertising. So there has been a change.
Well, talking about someone who's lost a lot of money, only joking. John,
no, it's true. I have.
John, as a theatre producer, I mean, it is one of those tasks that is so difficult because it's not only about the creative sense of what you're trying to do, but it's also about making sure that you can pay everyone and pay for the performance and the venue and all the rest. And I know when you're part of a theatre, that's different. As an independent producer, as you are with your production company, how much of a challenge was that before lockdown? And what are you thinking right now?
Lots of questions there. It's the same. If you're running a venue and running your own company, the issues around finance are the same, about paying people, making sure you can pay companies and artists and venues. I'd say that I'm in show business and I need to keep both of those equally balanced. And if either goes out, that's when you have problems. Because there is the adage, the only way to become a millionaire in show business is to start out a multi-millionaire. Because you're going to lose money. With 1 in 7 shows recoup. When it does, you hit the mother load. However, you've got the other 6 that don't. So it is a high risk. Making sure that artists are paid, and those are issues that there were before. There are enormous issues now in that what is happening. Are theatres commissioning work for post-lockdown? I don't think they are that much.
We'll come to that part now, which is, I think, really relevant to the times, because we're in this. We're still in lockdown. We've got the ability to go out. We've got the ability to start to experience different things. But there is a sense for a lot of people that, right, okay, we still have to be careful. We can't just go out as normal. I was in Tunbridge High Street yesterday, and it is really weird because you feel like you're in a dystopian world with people with their masks on, and you're trying to navigate and everything else. And I think for the arts, that means an even bigger challenge, because people are going to wonder, how do we do that? And I know on film sets, I was speaking to a friend yesterday, an actor who is about to go onto a set, and he's got lots of different thoughts about what does that mean for him? What does it mean for the crew? What does it mean for everyone else? So, as a writer, you also have TV projects that you are coming up, and I wonder whether that is something that you are thinking about so much that it's taking up so many hours of your day, or
we, as you know, we were due to start shooting in April, and it changed. And then they said there was a chance of September. And when September didn't happen, we found out recently that we've been ring-fenced to next spring, which amazingly lucky. Do you know what? I sort of, something shifted a few days ago where I thought I can either sit and fill this with worry, or just, for want of sounding really, really corny, let it be. There will be new ways of working. There will be new ways of doing things, but it's about learning them rather than fighting them. Because I think the more energy you put into, I mean, you know, when it all first happened, we were out in another country doing the recce, and we came back to Armageddon, and it was like, you know, I I took a load of napkins out of a restaurant because I thought there'd be no toilet rolls in Great Britain, because that was the panic people were telling us. Do you know what I mean? I was like, oh, I'll have those napkins then. But I was absolutely like this on the plane. Oh my God, my writing partner, me and Sal Lindsay, we were like, oh my God, don't move, you'll get it if you move. It was terrifying, you know, and then all the, is it not gonna? And I think it's a learning curve. And I think, like I said the other day about, this is the first time, apart from life and death, we'll all go through something as a collective together. So it's a case of just letting it be and watching it unfold and letting new ways of doing things. It's not going to be brilliant, and it could be terrifying if you concentrate on the terrifying. But I think if you concentrate on the things we will be able to do. As a writer, I'm sure Mark, it's like, it's not a big deal not to make people kiss or get into bed or do things like that. Just do that differently for a while. Part of me feels quite excitedly challenged by, okay, so how can we adapt? Because we have to for
Mark,
a while.
Is that something, does that feel the same for you?
It's not something I've considered massively. I mean, the script for The Little People was written before the lockdown started, but we are looking to start shooting later this year. But there's some.
Tell us a bit about, just for a moment, just tell us a bit about Little People so that people know what your film is.
Well, it's horror movie, monster movie set in Ireland, although we will be shooting over here, and it's about a couple who escape a terrible situation in London. They move to this incredible home, but they discover there are little people at the bottom of the garden. And it came out of discussions that John and I had about violence and how whenever we've encountered violence, it gives us the shakes. We hate it. But we agreed that when the one time we might resort to violence is to protect our children. So we take our character and we test her and put her in a very difficult situation. And but it's an excuse to have lots of little monsters running around biting people on the big screen. And we are looking to shoot that later this year. But we're, as far as I know, it looks like we're going to shoot in one studio, one location, everything locked down. We've had guidelines from the guilds, various guilds and organisations, telling us, about regular daily testing, wearing visors and masks in between. So there is a confidence that we can go ahead and do this. But I think our advantage is we are starting from scratch, whereas I think a lot of productions who are already in train have to stop everything and go, right, how do we do this again? How do we make this happen? So
that's exactly why That's exactly why we got ring fence, Mark, because we hadn't started. Really lucky that if we had started, like so many things, it just couldn't have carried on,
Absolutely. I mean, I saw a tweet or a John Boyega's Instagram today. So I think he's shooting something because he was in hair and makeup and he was in, a giant plastic thing here, a plastic thing and a visor, and the hair woman behind him had a visor as well, and everything was covered in plastic. So that for the moment is the new normal. It's going to be really, really weird, really, really strange. But they are finding out ways to do it. What I feel sorry for is theatre, where that interaction with the audience is so essential, and comedy and dance. They're the ones that I'm really, really concerned about.
Yeah.
So John, this announcement that was made yesterday about indoor performances, because we heard from the culture secretary Oliver Dowden that there were outside performances, which I think it's fair to say a number of those who work with outdoor performances, and we've got a lot of companies in Kent, said it does take about 6 months to get a production together unless you've got one in the can ready to go, and then you've got to make sure you've got all the staff and the teams, and even to do outside, it's not as easy as just going, and now it's Saturday and we perform. So what about the indoor performance, and how do you see that working? Because there was a whole thing about if people sing, that can't be done, and you made a point to me about no good for musicals.
What we know, and there are lots of questions, all we know is that indoor performances from the 1st of August can start, providing the audience is socially distanced and wearing masks. But the caveat is that is dependent on successful pilots happening between now and then. So even that, as I understand it, isn't a given. So that's what we know then. And then a lot of theatres are saying, well, economically, that just won't work for us. let alone it being a very weird experience. That financially, and we need to see what the 1.57 million is going to do, whether that's going to help cover that gap, let alone will people go. That's the so all of that, and the whole issues of, yes, we need to rehearse it, we need to publicize it, we need to get the costumes, we need to make sure there've been studies doing about singing. Does that transmit? Are there issues there? If you're in the orchestra, obviously, if you're a drummer, you can wear a mask, but if you're on the trombone, you can't, as you have a hole in it. So there's all those issues, and as Mark says, it's going to be. I think it's going to be a long time before things get back to what we call normal. They will come back.
Yeah.
The challenge is going to be the landscape when it does, because No.
You're right. Complete what you're going to say there, John.
Well, because the freelancers are leaving the industry. People I know, an actor, producer, is now going to be a biology teacher. So that is adapting, because it's not forever, but it's that short-term landscape. And then what will that like when that comes back? So it's all up in the air. I'm totally with Sue on two counts. One, on keeping optimistic and looking for opportunities, even if it does mean stepping aside for the moment and then coming back. But you've got to do that, in my view. But also, constraints can fire creativity. Back in the golden days of the Hays Code, I don't know where any of you know of that, but if you had a love scene in the bedroom, one of them had to keep their foot on the floor at all times.
That's me now, John.
All I'm going to say, at least it's just their foot. Let's just
flexible, Sue. You're flexible.
Now, come on, it's only 7. It's what is it? 5:22.
5:22. And we're into filth already. Sorry.
I know. Didn't take long. 22 minutes in. Just on that point, guys. Let's take some comments that are just coming in. I know we've seen lots of, and we'll go through some more of these tweets, and we're on Facebook and Twitter, so we're getting lots of different comments coming in. And I know people are joining the conversation all the time. We're also aware that people will watch this after it's gone out live, so keep the conversation going. I will give you all the hashtags as well to do that. But I want to take this one, and this comes in from Katie, and Katie's an actress, and I think this will have a lot of resonance. And Sue, maybe you could answer this first. Katie saying auditions and castings have been greatly reduced due to the pandemic. It's difficult to remain optimistic, especially in what is already such a tough industry, Sue.
Certainly is. And I think I'm going to sound very blunt now. You realise the toughness, and then what you do, what we are brilliant at as actors and artists and creatives is you get resourceful. So what you do is you go, right, what skill can I learn? And it might be while you're doing a job that's not an acting thing or anything artistic, but it's like, right, what can I do? Can I improve my voice? Can I learn a new song? You build up your toolbox. That's what I would say, is build up your toolbox, because some sense of normality will come back. And if you're match fit when that comes back, it will only make you feel better in the process, and it will make you feel indestructible. It really will. Be it an accent, be it reading about a different way of learning or experiencing. Last night I saw the beautiful Zoe Lyons, very good mate of mine, really, really brilliant comedian. And she'd done an outside gig in Brighton on the big screen. And I could see she was almost in tears, because they didn't clap their hands, they honked their horns. So you could see it lit her up as an artist, but she's had to sidestep. And so that's the answer to that, is keep on keeping on. We've not stopped. We've just got to change for a bit. And in 12 months' time, we'll go, what was that then? Can I just say as well, right, I'm going to say something. What I also think is, how can you not sing in the theatre and then stand in a pub and talk? I'm just saying. Just saying.
Yep.
Yeah. No. There are some. I mean, you can appreciate that there are lots of new things that no one's had to deal with before, and there's so many nuances. And I think a lot of us would say that there are some areas which are just difficult
because
to understand?
in London, different parts of London, my personal bubble is I get in my little car and I go to my other bubble and help out with childcare. And different parts of London, where I live, it is literally like lockdown has never happened. There are no face masks. It's literally like, oh, so what was all that about? I felt like I've been watching a film on the telly, and then I go outside my front door and go, I thought we were. And then in other parts of London, it's as you would expect, you know, and different parts of the country, sort of friends wise, it's like, yeah, it's full on. But in other parts, I think it's been applied to different ways in different places.
And different experiences for different people. I mean, Mark, you're in Herne Bay. John, you're in Paddock Wood. I'm on the Romney Marsh. But wherever you go, in all the main conurbations, it's a very different experience. I mean, being on the train, it was my first experience on the train yesterday, and although there was hardly anyone on it, the platform was really odd. And you know, you've got your mask on, and then I went into a restaurant yesterday, first one I've been into, and that was really odd because you've got it on, and then you take it off to eat, and then you've got to make sure the person in front of you, you know, is okay, and are they part of your bubble or whatever it might be, and there's lots of confusion about all of those. I just want to pick up on something that Katie, I just want to go back to, because Katie's added a little bit more at the bottom of her message. She said, I have been tempted to move to a different profession due to personal finances, even though it's not what I truly want. Something that you said about your friend John. So you know, that is happening, and that does that. I mean, I've got to be honest. It does break my heart that that's happening now, because some people might not get back into what they were doing. John?
Yes, I mean, there is always a chance. I never thought I'd end up running a theatre at the age of 50. That was not in my life plan, but I did. When I look back, because I did 26 years penal servitude in the insurance industry. But theatre, when I look back, I realised theatre was a stick of rock throughout that, which enabled me to cope. I was doing amateur work, doing other bits and pieces. So you know, I think it's Derek Jacobi's autobiography when he says, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. So we have just got to keep going, and you may have to do a detour. Katie may have to go and do something as a sideline, but what Sue was saying, keep your training going, keep things going on the side, so the minute you can move back, you can move back. And as actors, we are lucky in that we are not time bound. If you're a dancer, you then have, as an athlete, you have a limited time span, but you can still go on and do other things.
Can I say something to Katie as well? Katie, this is just for you. When I was 30, because it's other side swipes in life that can sometimes steer you down a path you didn't envisage yourself going down. When I was 30, my dad died very suddenly, and it knocked me for six. I was like, right, I've got to get a full-time job. What I did was I got a part-time job with full-time money. I retrained, and I hated the retraining. It was in finance. I hated it. But I went into the job, and I told them I'd given up acting. I was never going to act again. I wanted to work for a bank. And within 6 months, they were booking a coach trip to come and see my new play that I'd written on the London Fringe. So the moral of that story is, it will never leave you, because it's in here. It's in your being. And so whatever you do, your beauty and creativity as an actor will shine through. In any rubbish job that doesn't feel like it's fulfilling it will shine through.
And can I add to that as well, folks, to reassure Katie that, you know, I worked in publishing. It was a day job, like you say, John. It was, you know, it was the thing that paid the bills while I was doing other things. And my wife and I, we ran a theatre company together. We put on plays together, obviously in very different situations. But these days, there are opportunities for you as a creator and an actor to put your stories across. So, you know, a lot of actors I know started out doing one-person shows in theatre because it's probably the cheapest way to get your stuff out there. So you've got YouTube out there. You know, you can put your words out there and put your message out there and put your creativity out there. The only guaranteed way to fail is to stop. And as Sue said, if it is in you, you cannot help yourself. You might say, I don't want to do that anymore. But if you're truly passionate about it, you won't be able to help yourself. It will find that thing of creativity will find its way out one way or another. But we, as Gail there said, adapting is the key to keeping going. So we're going to have to find new ways to do this. And you will. I guarantee you will.
Thanks so much for being with us today on this live stream, our love letter for the arts. And it's a chance for us to all discuss that incredible thing. And it was said to me the other day about the word the arts doesn't really say it enough, because we all have our own feelings. I remember once doing what we call a vox pop in radio and going out into a town centre and asking people, as you do as a young reporter, asking a question, and it was about the arts. It was like, tell me your experiences of the arts. Some people say, oh, the arts. No, well, that's not for me. I'm not part of the arts. And I said, do you watch a film? Yeah, I watch films. I said, books? Read them? Yeah, I love books. Do you go to theatre? Yeah, I do. You get the point. The point is that the arts is this all-encompassing thing, and I think sometimes it's almost a sense that it doesn't do it justice. And then when you hear big organisations who are getting a lot of funding, I think sometimes it misrepresents the whole story, the independence, the freelance teams, the incredible grassroots work that is being done as well. And that really is the point of why I wanted to do this. This is nothing to do with my workplace. This is just something I wanted to do with a bunch of friends, a love letter for the arts, a chance for us to have a chat. And I think we've already seen from some of those like Katie and Chell and Gail and all the others who have commented who are watching this right now and who will watch it again, that it is really important to have a discussion about, and it can't just be something that is a news headline. Something I wondered I could ask you all. I don't know if you agree with this, but I have had a sense that during the COVID-19, the pandemic, maybe, but if I say this a different way, before this all happened, the arts by many people has been seen just as a luxury, something you do on a Friday or Saturday night, even though all of what I've just said about how we read books and watch films all the time. The arts during this time have been incredible to bring people together. And I feel blessed to be a part of it. And I feel that those who are around me who create stuff have actually been really important. Not just about those, everyone on the front line who's worked in the NHS and all the other, absolutely stunning. Can't ever put that away from what they've done. It's been incredible. And all our public service workers working on trains and buses and all the rest. But the arts, online, virtually, and all the rest has carried on somehow. A lot of people were saying, oh, that's it then, all gone. No, nothing else for months. And yet it did, and people just started doing stuff. Sue?
One of the best things anyone said to me, and it was right at the bit, a very, very good friend of mine, incredibly talented musician and songwriter. And I at the beginning, I was freaking out. We got back from this recce, amazing opportunity. I was in free fall. And he said, yeah, but we're creatives. And I went, so what? He went, but we've always somewhere else to go in our heads and show people.
Oh.
And it was literally like the penny dropping of like, oh yeah, oh I'll do that then. Oh, I'll do that. That makes me feel better. And it's that. And to be, I think you're right, Dom. I think it's so right that during this, the way, I also think we're kind of ace as human beings, how adaptive we are, how we've adapted to this. 4 months ago when we all first got on a Zoom and just went, oh no, what do I look at? Look how brilliant we've all got at it. Look at the tech skills we've all got together. Look, can you imagine how amazing something like the Edinburgh Festival is going to be next year when everyone's got loads of tech skills that they're going to apply? It's going to be really exciting.
The fact that we are doing this, actually, the fact we're all in these little boxes here, it does remind me of Celebrity Squares, I think. I don't know, just to pause for I don't know if we can look in the right direction and look down on each other. I don't know. How does that work? Am I looking at you, Mark? I don't know.
No, we all look like we've had strokes now.
No, I don't know.
I can see right up your nose, Dom.
Well, was it clean? I hope so. Some great comments.
You need one of those trimmers.
I'm on the radio. I don't care normally. Let's take this comment. This is from Robert, and actually links into that experience. Here we go, Robert. Sorry to block you out, guys. Love that you're doing this. Thanks. I'm a musician and actor, and I've been doing a podcast about creativity, talking to musicians, writers, actors, and all sorts. Whilst everyone is aware that these things are incredibly difficult, it's been remarkable to hear how many people continue to innovate and make their own stuff. Theatre's been doing that a lot, John. People have. I've had so many pieces that I've done on the radio about people who have created theatre productions, and they've just done it, haven't they? They've absolutely just done it.
I mean, that there have been plays written, new plays written that have been done via Zoom that you can watch from New York. You've got recordings of stuff done previously. You've had immersive theatre that's been done from people's rooms via Zoom with the audience being seen, because I want to explore more what we can do with this, with VR.
Okay.
It won't replace things. It may be an interim step, or it may run alongside things. So there's all that we need to play with and learn from what Sue was saying about learn new skills, learn about things, adapt, do stuff. And all that means that either when things come out, we can respond differently, or we can carry on creating, which is what we are now. I mean, as you know, a Hamilton fan, and somebody has recorded Act 1 of Hamilton as sung by the Muppets. And it's one of the funniest. It's on YouTube.
It's great.
And it's one of the funniest things I've seen. When they get to Beaker singing, it cracks me up. So people are... And,
sorry, John.
I'm also going to say, has anyone watched Randy Rainbow? Anyone know Randy Rainbow? He's genius.
Fantastic.
Absolute genius.
Yeah.
Okay, Mark and I just heard the word Randy. So can you can you explain Randy Rainbow?
It's just pre-watershed, isn't it?
I saw him in New York. There we go.
Can I just point out to you two perverts that that's his real name? It's not a stage name.
No,
That is his real name. That is his real name.
That's great.
Not just on Thursday, not just Thursday nights.
But what does he do?
He is a satirist, and he records his latest. He has rewritten "Poor Unfortunate Soul" from The Little Mermaid to "Poor Unfortunate Troll" about one Donald Trump. And my favorite, just after Trump inquired, could you inject people with disinfectant?
Don't do it.
2 days after that, he came back with, instead of a spoonful of sugar, it was a spoonful of Clorox, makes your temperature go down. And if you haven't watched him, go on YouTube, watch him. I will send you the links to some of these. It is comic gold, Sue, isn't it?
Amazing. He's fantastic. Did you see John Krasinski from the American Office? He's done Some Good News channel. Did you see when he did Hamilton? It was very early on in the lockdown, and he was one of the first ones to. He's but for ages he's been talking about doing a channel that's Some Good News, which is something. Have you seen it? And what he did, and he did the squares like this, and and as a surprise to these graduating students, he said, I've got a member of the cast from Hamilton. And one of the cast came on and started singing, and slowly, pop, 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 the whole cast all singing in Iceland. It was just phenomenal. John Krasinski has changed the frequency. I think he's been phenomenal during lockdown, a real soul filler.
Can I pick you up there on the word frequency? It's something that, Sue, you work with. It's a great word, because it's something that you do, Sue, as part of your work outside of television and film, and you work with incredible people. You work in a shelter. You work with women who have been absolutely appallingly treated in their lives, and you talk about frequency a lot. Could you just explain? This is a lovely moment to talk about that, because mental health is really key during this whole time.
It really is. So I've worked with the ladies in the shelter that I've talked about. These are women who've been severely displaced and normally arrive at the shelter with their children, and that's it. And they've been in great danger, and probably from one end of the country to the other for safety. And during lockdown, we had to find, I've been doing coffee mornings with them where we let them be women rather than victims or mums for the morning. So during lockdown, it was like, how can we do this differently? So what we do now, we've got into a brilliant routine. We do a little bit of mindfulness, a little bit of calming down, breathing techniques that I teach them about breathing and finding your voice, because that's the one thing you can have control over. And then I talk about the words we use and the frequency they set, because the words we use are like music and they set our frequency and how we feel. On Friday, when I was talking about this, and I did the Maya Angelou poem, Human Family, and the women, you've got about 20 screens of women listening to you. And then we have a disco dance. And on Friday, I put on John Paul Young's Love is in the Air, because we did a session about self-love and how it's good to listen to your self-advocate, not your self-critic. Obviously put into words that are more understandable than that. And I said to them, when you hear the music lift, that ba da 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 in Love is in the Air, I said, let's all feel it, girls. I've never seen anything as beautiful, that when we got to that crescendo, you felt them feel it, and then we all did a big disco spin. And what it leaves me so high afterwards. And you can see it leaves the women somewhere they wouldn't normally get a chance to be, because as well as being in lockdown, they're in lockdown. They got, there's not a lot of light at the end of the tunnel. So it's about finding the light while they're in that tunnel. And it's just been wonderful. And you know what? The benefit of lockdown has been, when I did the monthly coffee mornings with them, I'd worry sometimes if I was away filming or working, I couldn't get to them. I couldn't do it. I can do this anywhere in the world now. Every Thursday, I know I can go on to the girls and go, right, let's talk about Maya Angelou. Let's talk about, all the things. Going back to what Katie was saying as well, I think that's a really key thing as well. Self-love. Oprah Winfrey has this brilliant thing. When she was a little girl, they used to say to her, oh, you're really full of yourself. And like it was a criticism, but actually one of the best things you can do is fill yourself up on yourself. And that, for the women, it makes them glow. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Great to hear stories as well of actually just people carrying on, because for me, that's what it's been about. It's so easy talking about mental health to go through this time, and I feel for every single person, and I know people who are facing threat of their jobs either disappearing or whatever it might be in terms of their work. And it's so difficult. I was speaking to someone yesterday who works within the theatre world and had been working for 20 years and was told on Monday that their job had been made redundant. And it's so hard at a certain age as well to think, right, how do I carry on from here? What do I do? And I was saying to the person, look, you've got all these amazing skills, and it's about sometimes that belief in yourself. It's what you're saying about self-love, Sue. Sometimes people almost kind of, we're Brits, aren't we? We shun away from wanting to say, actually, I'm quite good at something, but sometimes you need that ability to look at that.
You know what, Dom, going back to that banking job I had all those years ago, I was there for about 1.5 years and I had a great time and the ladies were lovely and actually fueled a lot of the writing that I've just done for the series that's coming on next year, sort of character studies and things. But I remember we all got made redundant, and about 2 weeks before, because this is the other thing we're creative, so that's sounding big-headed. When we go into normal jobs or jobs that we don't really want to do, we're always really quite good at them because of our communication skills. So they were always trying to offer me a full-time job. And she said, oh, you need some security, so you need some security. And they all got made redundant. We all got made redundant. And she came to me a week after we got made redundant, and she said, I envy you. I said, what do you mean? She went, well, you've no security, but it's in here. You know what you want to do. That even if and she'd been with the bank since she was 16 years old, and she was a woman in her mid-40s. And so it was a moment of awakening for her rather than shutting down.
Mark, I wonder if you could pick up on that, because you were in the publishing industry for 25 years, weren't you?
I was
in huge companies.
I was made redundant at the end of 2018. And so having having had something to fall back on and fell back on it big time, you know, I was very used to that regular wage. So it was a big transition. And as Sue said, people had more confidence in me than I did. They were like, oh, this is great. You can write, you can do this, you can do it. But who's going to pay me? And you have to learn to value what you do and put a price tag on it, which again doesn't play to the modesty that a lot of us have, or the lack of confidence that we have. And that thing of saying, yeah, I'm going to do this, but you're going to have to pay me for it. And when they do, it's like, oh, actually, there is a value to this. I mean, just to talking about valuing what we do. You know, I did some research before I came on. You know, it's you know what the arts actually contributes to. I mean, the arts and culture industry is grown £390 million between 2018 and 2019. It contributes nearly 11 billion a year to the UK economy. It's nearly 3 billion in tax. You know, we bring a lot in to the country, and as John was saying earlier, these are high risk ventures, but when they work, they really, really work, and they bring a lot of money in. And that, I remember when I was first acting, I did a play on Unity Theatre with a brilliant Irish actor director called Declan Mulholland, and he was telling me about the actors' strike a few years before, and I made some joke, oh, did anyone notice, kind of thing. And he said, oh yeah, TV shows went dark, they went off the air, and people really noticed it. And I think what's happened during lockdown is, you know, Netflix have reported they've added 10 million new subscribers in the last quarter. Streaming has increased by 300%. When the bookshops opened a couple of weeks ago, 4 million books were sold in the first 6 days after the reopen. People value what we do, therefore we should value. So absolutely. You know, it's that thing of valuing yourself and valuing what you do, and knowing that it does make a difference to people's lives.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
it is
redundancy is not the end. I mean, two things. One, when I used to do training and training people in job search, the key thing with redundancy is to say your job has been made redundant, you haven't been. Even though we've all said, but it's happened to me 3 times. Each time it's felt terrible at the time, but it's been the best thing that's ever happened to me. So it's about, difficult as it is, and not wishing to sound Pollyanna-ish, maintaining positivity, because when you do, you then look for the opportunities and you may see them. So that's, you know, it's easier said than done. There's a brilliant thing of like, is it in that song where it talks about, when I get to 80, I don't want to look back at myself and go, why did I give myself such a hard time? Why wasn't I nice to myself then? That very thing that I want to look back and go, do you know what? That was tough, but you gave it a go, you know, that. Yeah.
We heard from Katie earlier. What about, so, you know, we are all of a certain age where we've got these skills that we built up over a fair number of time, 25 years plus, 30 in some cases.
Thank you. I don't know who you're talking about.
No, and I'll probably keep it that way.
Yes, because I'll try. Okay.
But this is an interesting point from Mark. I feel sorry for the younger radio and TV staff that are losing jobs, having to adapt to other forms of work, and that's happening across commercial and public sector. Yep.
Yeah.
And sorry, John, go on.
I was going to say it's happened in any field, because before this happened, people were saying, okay, if you think theatre's bad, you're having a tough time, just think about retail. And you know, so everybody's going through this. The whole world is changing, and it is the ability to adapt, keep your passion going, because as Sue says, your skills will either help you succeed in whatever job you're doing, or you will learn something there that you can then take back when you move out of it.
And I think that, you know, as much as it's acceptance as well, isn't it? It's that really annoying therapy word, isn't it? Acceptance of going, all right, well, that's happened there. Now I'm going to deal with that. And yes, young people are losing their jobs. They are. But they're the yin to that yang is, but I'm young. So there's a whole massive world out there. There's a whole major load of stuff we can do. And, you know, that going back to what I said before about aren't we lucky being creatives? It must be, I really felt empathy. Imagine not having a head that can just think about little people at the bottom of the garden, or produce a play, or imagine not having a head, whereas your job's been that job and that's all you've known. So I think it's our creatives' job to create these worlds for people who don't have that mind.
Mark, and I didn't ask you this in advance, you don't have to answer, but I'm just interested in your own kids. How are they dealing with all of this at the moment?
It's interesting because my daughter, who I can see out the window now, who's cutting herbs for dinner, which is nice. She's an artist and an animator, and she and her boyfriend, who lives with us, they both do animations and stuff for YouTube. They've been earning more than I have during lockdown. They're doing just fine. They don't have to adapt. They're 21st century natives, you know. And my son, who, despite all my protestations, wants to be an actor. He's slightly annoyed because he had a bunch of productions lined up for the end of his course, and they were all cancelled. So he was really upset about that. But just yesterday, we were out filming a book trailer for my new book. We were out filming that yesterday. So he was like, "Can I put this on my CV?" I was like, "Yeah, you can." Thank you. Available in all good bookshops. So they're going to be okay. It is the people, as Mark Hampson there said, people who are already on train and are going to have to change and adapt. But as I said to Katie earlier, there's never been more opportunities to go out there and go it alone. And there are, yes, we should look to the government for funding to help protect people in the biggest bump in the road the arts has ever known. But there are patron models. I know a lot of authors who use Ko-fi and Patreon to sort of get people to fund them during the hard times, and there are people out there who will help you along. You just have to value what you do and ask for help, or give something in return. A lot of authors I know, they will write short stories that they will give exclusive to their Patreon supporters, or people who give them Ko-fi or whatever. So it's I'm not pretending it's going to be easy at all, but the opportunities are there if you've got an open mind, if you're flexible enough, and if you value what you do.
And the way young people are with technology, I watch my godchildren and the children in my life handle technology, and it astounds me. And I think that, coupled with a friend's little girl, when all the children had to just not go to school anymore and not get their end of term, or leaving I think that must be so hard, and they've missed out on something. However, when you turn that on the head, how brilliantly resilient are they going to be? How utterly, because they're all doing sort of like little graduation ceremonies now, belated graduation ceremonies, and it's wonderful. That's going to make them resilient and resourceful. And let's face it, resilience and resourceful if you want to be an actor. We all sit here in our middle age doing our work now. But somebody was talking about working for nothing and giving it a little bit, I don't want to work for nothing. And you go, do you know what? Sometimes you have to. I did years of working for nothing and then started getting paid for it. And like Mark said, all of a sudden it's like, oh, you're going to pay me. But that's because you've earned your stripes doing the schlep.
I think, Sue, that's really important. Actually, it's a really interesting point, and I know it's really tough right now at this point of, but at all times there has to be a sense, especially when you're starting out, of maybe doing things not for a lot of money, and you learn from it. You have your like I did, crappy flat, and then things change as it goes on. And I think it's really important.
Isn't it? It's the hungry years. We all listen to that song now with a large glass of red wine and go, "Oh, it was always won it." No, quite frankly, doing the Edinburgh Festival and losing £15,000 was hard work 4 times.
I'm glad that's not just me.
Yeah, no, we're all part. I've not been to the Edinburgh Festival, but I've lost money, so
They're the best stories. They're the things that fuel what we do now.
Yep.
We've got just a few minutes left. It's been a great discussion. I've really enjoyed this. And if you want to get your last questions in for any of our contributors here as part of our love letter for the arts, Sue Vincent, comedy actress, legend, writer of great comedy drama, and just a lovely person. And I'm going to have to say you're all lovely, aren't I?
Big time.
Mark Stay, who is a writer from Herne Bay, a fantasy writer and screenwriter. He has another book out as well. And John Martin, theatre correspondent and theatre producer, an independent theatre producer as well, which I'm sure we think about you right now, John, as well, because it is a tough thing. So keep those messages coming in on Facebook, and if you're still watching on Twitter as well, I assume it's all working. Send them in the last remaining moments. But while I think, guys, just have a final point then. So we've talked about our own experiences. We talked about how the arts became a huge part of your life and how it did. And it seems that teachers definitely played a part, which is nice. The arts dilemma, I think, is the fact that loads of stuff is happening right now. Indoor performances are coming back again. We don't know what it's going to be like in months to come. People are still talking about it possibly going well into next year as well. Some theatres aren't even going to think about opening until spring of next year. I mean, that's just, no pantomimes at Christmas. I mean, lifeblood and stuff. So all of that is really, really important. But just in the final few moments together, what do we do then? How do we as individuals and all those watching and those who'll be catching up again, how do we support the arts?
You keep your centre shiny. We all, as actors and performers, we talk about the centre, coming back to centre and finding that. Keep polishing your centre, keep filling your toolbox, and keep learning, because that's what will inform and that's what will keep you strong.
John?
I think play it forward. I mean, if you can donate to the National Theatre, to the Old Vic, for what they're doing, pay to watch things. I've paid to watch. I'm seeing next week songs from A New World from the Other Palace, which is a Jason Robert Brown song cycle. So you can still pay for things online. So if you can't actually go to the theatre, support artists, find stuff, do stuff, pay for it, not just Netflix. But
it's grassroots as well, isn't it? It's grassroots theatre, not just. I mean, the bigger players, they're amazing. But luckily, John, they sometimes have huge sponsors who are still bankrolling. Some of the independents are smaller, don't.
Yes, and I'm talking about, these are smaller companies who are putting work out there.
That's great.
And they're charging 10, 15 pounds a pop to see that. So I say hunt that down, do it, watch it. That way you are actually helping artists and helping the work get made.
Mark?
I think if there's someone in your family who is creative, and I think most people will have someone in their family, a musician, comedian, dancer, any kind of talent like that, and they want to achieve that, I think you should be there to support them whatever way you can. I'm not saying you need to pay their rent or anything, but you should be the one saying, okay, you're working as a waiter or you're working behind the bar in this place for 6 months or whatever, but we believe in your dream. We believe you can do this. Keep going. We're there for support, for moral support. If you need someone to yell at or scream at or despair about the world, or you want to share your triumphs, then drop me a line and I'll be there for you. And I've been doing a lot of that with fellow authors recently, just saying, we will get through this, and we think you're great, and just keep going.
Why is it that every time someone says, though, working as a waiter, I just want to go with the line, in a cocktail bar when I met you? In
a cocktail bar, yeah. Well, and look how that ended. Yeah.
A real pleasure, guys. I just want to end, and thank you for all those who've done the comments. We're going to do this again, by the way. We're going to do this in a couple of weeks with a new set of people on Celebrity Squares who are going to join me here, and hopefully over the coming weeks and maybe months, we'll get a real reflection of those from different parts of the arts. Today we hear very much about film, television, theatre, and the publishing industry and books. So all of that. But just to end, and a final thought from all of you on just how the arts, because that's what it's about, a love letter to the arts. I want you to directly speak now to the arts and say to the arts what the arts mean to you. And I'm going to start with Mark.
Thank you for keeping me sane. I've got so many happy memories of curling up with a book, of going to see great shows, of listening to fantastic music, of seeing incredible movies, and just feeling that I belonged to something. And the arts are how we express ourselves and how we see ourselves and how we make sense of the world. And it's helped me make sense of this crazy world that we live in.
It's just who I am. It's a sense of excitement. It brings me joy whenever I'm feeling down. Put on music, listen to a podcast. It's just life, basically.
Dear Arts, I love you. From the words I speak, to the music I listen to the books I read, to the plays I act, to the people I know, you fuel my life. Thank you. I love you. Sue.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for being part of this afternoon. It's been great, and it's been a real pleasure to hear from you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dom.
For me, the basis of all art, of all great art, great culture, whether it be film, theatre, painting, dance, sculpture, all art, is sharing. Sharing what it's like to walk a little in someone else's shoes, the sharing of ideas and emotions, sharing what it is to be human, with all the nuances and contradictions of human nature. Art, for me, shares the fact that we're all just trying to work things out, trying to make the best of the limited time we have to be here. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily saying that life is fair, but it is saying that there are feelings that bind us. It runs on empathy, and it's a great reminder of the importance of empathy in what I think is such a divisive time.
The arts is a very simple name for a rich and diverse basket. The arts take us to the best of ourselves. The artist is our guide. Please, please let us protect every aspect of the arts.
Dear the Arts, it's a shame you're known collectively as the Arts. I think it makes you sound a bit unapproachable and like you're going to make me feel that I don't know anything or that you aren't for me. Anyway, I'm really relieved that you're getting some help. You mean a lot to me. I'm not even quite sure when we first met, but as a not very sporty child, you gave me chances to shine in other ways, playing music, singing, acting, dancing. You gave me confidence, a sense of achievement and a direction in life.
We need the government to write its own love letter for the arts on the back of not just one large cheque, but many, each of which will filter down to the grassroots venues, the freelancers, the arts centres at the beating hearts of their communities. As Joni Mitchell put it so memorably once upon a time in a bittersweet ballad in 1970, whose message still endures to this day, "Don't it always seem to go, that you don't know what you've got till it's gone."
I heard the most gorgeous fact recently. I do hope it's true. I'm saying it's a fact. It's only something that someone told me. In those pin drop moments in the theatre, when everyone's collectively holding their breath, waiting for the big laugh or the tears or the temper or the eureka moment, you know those moments where you can literally hear a pin drop in an enormous building. Apparently, everybody's heart starts beating at the same time. This is a love letter for the arts.